Welcome to the Look Good, Move Well podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. We got a FPV banter topic that Satya is going to kick off. What do we got?
Okay. So we are each going to tell the listeners something they don't know about the other person. And I have mine ready for you while you think of yours for me.
Great. Thank you. Give me a little time here.
Put you right on the spot. Okay, so for those eagle-eyed social media followers, they may have caught a glimpse of your vehicle. And I feel like the public perception is always like, oh, look at Marcus. He drives a Lexus SUV. And what the listeners do not realize, or what the followers do not realize, is that your car is so old. And has like, how many miles does that have? Like 150,000 or?
Oh, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a tape deck. It's got a fine patina of child, what's the word? Grime. And could you afford a nicer car? Absolutely. But you're just a practical guy. You're just going to drive that thing into the ground and, you're just going to keep it real with the...
Just keeping it real.
With the check engine light.
The check engine light that's been on for about probably three years.
Yeah.
My wife won't let us drive that car more than an hour if we're with our kids. She's like, is this safe? I'm like, it's safe. I've had it checked so many times. The light just doesn't go out. Oh, man. Okay. All right. That car's sick. I bought it from my mom at a discount. Let's go.
Heck yeah.
What's funny about that is that it's a 2008 and it's like the first generation hybrid SUV that ever came to market. And the thing gets like worse gas mileage than like today's just like
worst car.
Like fuel guzzling thing. It's like it was just not good technology back then, but we obviously were trying to do the right thing, my family.
Yeah.
Okay. Gosh. Something I know about Satya that the listeners don't know.
See, this will be easy because people know nothing about me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really
just
take
pick
this
anything.
Anywhere. Let's see. Well, they might know this about you, but I'm going to just let the vast majority. So, well, Satya actually she's very, she has a great palate, really enjoys a lot of different foods. And I'm a pretty simple guy, like the 5-ingredient thing, like just, I'll live like that pretty much all the time. If Satya could have her way, she would be probably preparing 30-ingredient, dishes times 5-course meal all the time. And when we've had potlucks in the past for the gym, she always wins, with the I mean, it's not always like clearly like this is the best tasting dish, but it's like most effort, the most components.
The most condiments.
Yeah, the most condiments. And we just scheduled our potluck for the year, the holiday potluck. So we're looking forward to Satya knocking it out of the park with another dish. She chose dessert this year because she also has a pastry making background. True. Worked at a pastry, you weren't like a pastry chef per se, but like you worked in a pastry shop. Like, how would you define what your title was?
I was a pastry intern.
A pastry intern.
But I worked at
passion for sugar.
I worked at a fine dining place, and we like made our own chocolates and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, then there you go. And so that is that's the background on Satya.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to take that in a slightly different direction, but I'll leave it at that. Yeah, we're excited for the potluck. We don't know yet what Nate's bringing. Mm-hmm. He has not announced it. Whatever he can fit on his Super 76. Mm-hmm. Is it 73? Super 73. Nate rides a electric bike around. basically a motorcycle, and so whatever he can get to the get up to our house on the bike.
Nothing too delicate.
No. He will not be bringing pie. Okay. Well, let's, so for today's topic, we are going to launch into another listener submission. And I really like this topic, or the question rather, which I think leads into a topic of, performance versus aesthetics, and do they go together, and how can they overlap? But we're going to dive into a specific question. So Satya can go ahead and read this from our fellow listener.
Yeah. I'm always unsure whether our listeners would prefer to remain anonymous or would prefer their names read, but just for privacy's sake, I will keep this one anonymous.
Yeah.
Just in case. It's a personal topic.
Definitely.
So this person wrote in, and she's a personal trainer and nutrition coach. She says, I'm also a competitive CrossFit athlete. I have a pretty big elite competition coming up in January, so I've been very focused on performance and eating enough calories to sustain long, tough workouts and recovery. The caveat is, this competition is in Miami and involves wearing a swimsuit on national television. She tends to hover around 143 to 146 pounds. She's 5'4". I have in the back of my head that I'd like to be leaner by January. Performance-wise, my gymnastics tend to get better as I get lighter, but my strength suffers a bit. Do you think it's a bad idea to cut calories and drop some body weight before competition, or would it be better to continue eating at between maintenance to surplus to get harder sessions in leading up to competition? Ultimately, I'd love to perform well and look great. Don't we all?
Damn.
Yeah.
It's that Wadapalooza is really creating
that's a conflict.
A conflict for people.
I totally get it, though.
And get after it, but apparently I have to do double unders in a bathing suit.
Yeah,
and
that's real.
Don't want to have that jiggle.
Well, also, how you perceive that you look has a big impact on your confidence when you're competing, performing, I would imagine.
For some.
Mm-hmm. Other people just get in the zone. They don't
give an F.
Yeah.
No. Matt Fraser was looking a little soft and furry, and he was like, later, y'all. I just beat you bad.
I'm going to go have my Snickers.
Yeah. Where's the Coca-Cola and Snickers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a question. That's for sure. I'm not going to lie. I probably suffered from it a bit in my competitive days, more so in the early days of competing. Towards the later days or later year of competing, I think it's also a little different for men, for sure.
I was just about to say.
I'm not going to say it's the same, but yeah, there's a conflict between looking your best or whatever you perceive looking your best could be, and what performing your best for your body type could look like and be, and I would say probably, arguably I get more acknowledgement of my physique and leanness now than I did when I competed, but my competitive body was far superior in terms of performance output. And if I take that competitive body and I drop 6 pounds, and get leaner, it's like people are like, whoa, look at this guy. And I'd probably be, at Wadapalooza in Miami getting people paying attention, but I'd be in 10th or 15th or 18th place. I'd be I'd be further down the leaderboard because those extra 6-7 pounds that I would carry would have a tremendous carryover to performance outcomes in that particular sport. So it's, I'm talking about extremes here a little bit. Okay, you're going to come in at 146. She says she hovers between 143, 146. Mm-hmm. Or is she going to purposely kind of try to drop to the bottom of that and be at 140, at the competition? Well, those 6 pounds are going to be a massive shift in your performance capabilities. Now, some people would argue well, at 140, I'm going to be able to do more muscle ups. It's you're right. And the sport historically doesn't necessarily favor the gymnast. It favors the person who can do everything, and really in a multi-day multi-event competition, the person who can sustain output over multiple days at a high level and recover fastest, which is not the person who's, running on closer to empty and is shed all their body fat. The body fat and the extra pounds that they bring into the competition are what allow them to sort of sustain better. Mm-hmm. So it's, on the one hand, we could talk about it like this, where it's like, well, it's pretty clear cut. You want to win, you want to do well, and you want to perform your best, you better be, you better stay on the slightly heavier side and just fuel yourself a ton. Mm-hmm. And then go into the weekend and then just give everything you have and just fuel, recover. And then, you might be a little bit puffy by the end of the weekend. But like you said, how you feel, what you see in the mirror, like that can also impact your confidence on the competition floor. And if you struggle to, feel confident walking out there in the body that you have, then maybe you're preoccupied just enough to make your performance suffer. Like I didn't, so this would be like a multi-month year process of getting really confident and comfortable seeing, a body in the mirror that's a little bit less lean, but it performs way better and recovers way faster, so that you can arrive and just be like, hell yeah, like look at me, I'm thick and ready to get some points on the leaderboard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which was kind of like, this is a bit of my journey, was like I needed to get to that place towards the end of my career to really like thrive and to do my best.
Yeah. I'm going to add some layers here to the topic, which are very unfortunate, but they exist. So let's put them on the table. One is that women are judged for our appearance more than what we can do, even in the CrossFit space. So the women who are the most attractive have the most followers on social media. And if you are trying to make your career related to fitness and use your competitive CrossFit appearances to gain social media followers, to gain eyeballs for your business, for your future after you retire, I'm not going to say that appearance doesn't play a part in that.
For sure.
And it's something that sucks so badly, especially about CrossFit, where it's really supposed to be about what you can do and not what you look like. So how do you advise your clients who've struggled with similar things around this? Or what would you say, knowing that the visual impact, especially in a televised CrossFit competition, does have something to do with how you end up succeeding in future endeavors potentially?
Well, I was gonna say something quite similar, before you mentioned or you brought this up, that she's a professional coach and a competitive CrossFitter. I don't hear, and I don't know who this person is. I don't hear them being a professional CrossFitter and a, enthusiastic part-time coach. What is your, what's your driver here? What's going to be the most beneficial for your long-term success? And then who's your clientele that you're working with? Do you coach competitive CrossFit athletes in nutrition? And when they come to you, what is their goal? They want to win? Okay. Then go and model that and show them how you win and do really well on the foundation of a great, performance nutrition plan that you've put together and you've created. Do you work with Gen Pop who want to look good and feel good? With the look good being maybe the priority over the feel good, or do you work with? I mean, who do you work with? And if that's the case, and going and looking great, helps feed this thing that's really your true passion and the thing that you want to do, then there's an argument to go and make that a bit more of a priority and be okay not being the first place person. And then there's also like, hey, what do you really want?
Yeah.
If it's like, if you really want to go and just crush it and have the best outcome possible, then accept that there are these truths about how people view you, and that if you came in a little bit leaner and, had a little bit more abdominal definition, you might get some more photos and you might get some more followers, and that might turn into more business, and it might launch you into a new, social media influencer coach position. But there are a lot of mights there. There's a lot of we don't know. Mm-hmm. But the one thing you will know is how you feel walking away from the competition and whether you got out of it what you really wanted. So it's I think there has to be some alignment with what are you really trying to do? Like, are you trying to be, the most aesthetic CrossFitter that's out there who also can perform quite well because that's the audience that you end up serving when you're coaching? Then go do that. Like, those people exist out there. Like, damn, that person looks good. And they never won anything. They were good, but they never won anything. Mm-hmm. And now they run businesses that are all about looking good. It's like, okay, great. And they're crushing it. Yeah. It's like, that's okay. Yeah. If that's what mattered, it's what mattered to them, to a certain degree. And I think until I gave up a certain amount of needing to look super sharp and shredded and be okay, I can put on an extra 5 pounds and head into this competition, and wow, this is really making a big difference in terms of how I can perform and recover. That's what matters to me the most right now. I'm okay with that. But from the outside, I mean, this is also how you view yourself too. Yeah. It's everyone's gonna be like, Marcus, you look shredded at every competition I ever saw. You didn't look beefy whatsoever compared to the other competitors. Yeah, that's what people saw. They didn't see, anyhow, again, not trying to throw myself into this conversation to compare myself to, female competitors in the sport and how they're being judged. And, but when we talked about this downstairs before we started recording, I was actually thinking that, there's a whole nother answer to this, which I haven't even discussed, which is yeah, you can totally, shred some pounds right before a competition, and it might not impact your performance at all. And here's where I'm going with that. If you're peaking for a competition, we could take Olympic style weightlifters, as they arrive close to a competition, they have to make weight, and some of them will have to do some form of dieting or some form of dropping of pounds, and they can still show up on stage and set world records. Mm-hmm. The same is true with, CrossFit competitions. And I will say, I mean, the sports are completely different. Please don't, misunderstand me here. I'm not saying that it's the same as cutting weight for a, weightlifting competition. It's not. The energetic demands, the sheer volume of work, the amount of recovery that it takes, you need a different body composition and a different complete makeup to be a good, successful CrossFitter. But the loss of weight in a short amount of time is just a stressor on your body. Okay. And it will, in a perfect world, you are getting all the stress as a competitive CrossFit athlete from your sport and from the training for the sport. And you want to minimize the amount of stress you have elsewhere so that you can maximize training intensity and recovery. If you're sleeping like shit, that's a problem. That's not going to help you in your sport. If you're cutting calories, that's also not going to, that's not supportive of the endeavor. But we're so resilient. We're the most resilient, species, like we can endure so much. And I recall that the biggest stress time of the year for me, every year I competed in fitness, was the lead up to any big competition. My anxiety, my psychological stress was like on different like levels that I'm like, I think back to it now, I'm like, why did I do that? That was so miserable.
Yeah.
I mean, I would, leading up to regionals every year, I could barely sleep. I was just worried. I was thinking about it all the time. I would lose weight because of that. I was so like caught up in like what's going to happen that I'd lose my appetite. I wouldn't be eating. Like I would inadvertently lose 3 to 4 pounds almost every competition prep because I was so damn nervous. And I would still show up and crush it. Yeah. Or like for myself, like I don't believe that actually diminished my performance. It diminished like my enjoyment for sure. And like the fulfillment of the whole thing. But it was just like, I just ran hot for like 4 weeks. They would announce the workout and then 3.5 weeks later I would compete. And for those 3.5 weeks, I was like in a pretty stressed out state. But I'm a human being that's resilient and can deal with it. And like that cortisol drip, that adrenaline drip that was just going on all day, every day, it just drove me and motivated me and it just made me work more. And so so long as this particular athlete doesn't make it like a 4-month, like I'm going to try and diet down.
A major cut.
Yeah, because if you go back 3 or 4 months and you start cutting weight and you start to restrict calories, like then a very important training time where you're building your base and you're peaking for this competition, you ruin it. But in the last 3 weeks of dialing things in, that's not where the most like important time of training, and building your skills took place. That already happened. Now you're refining. Yeah. And oftentimes, during that last 2 to 3 weeks, your training volume actually comes down. So you're actually not doing as much working out. You're doing high intensity workouts, but if you were doing triple days or double days, like as you get closer to competition, it might just be like I'm doing like one hard session and then like a little aerobic work. Like you're just staying sharp. You're not trying to like pack on hours and hours of training every day. You're trying to get in 60 minutes of super high intensity efficient work and then recover. And so as you get closer to competition, your energetic demands go down. Like I may have been burning 5,000 calories a day in 3 or 4 months out from the competition, but in the 3 or 4 2 or 3 weeks leading up to the competition, I'm only burning 4,000 calories a day because I'm not putting in the 90-minute aerobic sessions at high effort every day. I'm not doing the 4 Metcons and 5 barbell lifts a day. Like there's that time has passed. So I would actually start to eat a little bit less. I didn't need to eat. And if you're in this like high training volume state, you tend to like hold on to more water and more just fluid, like, and your cells are puffy and you're holding on to all this stuff because you're stressed out physically and you're eating all this food and you're trying to get better. And then right before the competition, you kind of like, cut that all back and you can lose like 3 to 4 or 5 pounds of like essentially like water weight in a way, maybe a pound or 2 of fat. And that was kind of like a natural process for me almost every competition. I would come in feeling like lean and mean. And then by the end of the weekend, I was like, puffy and depleted again, and like, just everything was, anyway. So as a nutrition coach, she probably understands everything that I just said. And it's more about, in my opinion, timing, of when you sort of like kind of dial those things in. Yeah. And then once, ideally the bikini workout is the first workout of the day of the competition.
Yeah. Then you're done.
And then you're done. And then it's like, Obviously, like the rest of the outfits are all pretty much bikinis in Miami.
Slightly longer bikinis.
Yeah, slightly longer bikinis, but yeah. Then the name of the game once the competition starts is kind of do whatever you can to make sure you recover. And so if that means, you know, drinking more fluids and eating a little bit more carbohydrates, like you're going to start to stack some puff and some fluff by the end of the weekend, most likely.
Yeah. Going back to what you said earlier, I just really love this idea about getting what you want out of it for yourself, because I feel like you can't have it all. You can't be the best looking person and crush absolutely every single workout and have everything go your way and it's all going to be amazing. Like, for all of those stars to line up, like, I don't think that happens for anybody, or if it does, it's extremely rare. And what's more likely is that you'll want to come out of that competition feeling like you didn't let yourself down, like you had the experience you wanted, whether that was to really have fun or to push yourself in these particular ways or to see how far you could go mentally or whatever it is that's going to make you feel like, damn, I'm so proud of myself for that thing. And whatever that is, I feel like that's a great aspect to hold on to.
For sure it is. I mean, if you're going to be competing at that competition in whatever division, but let's just assume it's the elite division, like there's 20 women that are going to be there and probably thousands that would love to be there, you know? So you have an opportunity to do something very unique. And at the end of the competition, people might pay attention to the top three. They'll maybe remember the top one, but within a month, nobody's going to remember Wodapalooza or whatever the competition is. Nobody's going to remember what you did. Nobody's going to even really care by the end of the weekend what place you got, or, you know, you'll have the photos and you'll be able to look back on them, but people aren't really going to pay attention. So yeah, it's so much about, like, you know, I've been really connected to this and feeling like, you know, resonating with that message. It's like, do what makes you super pumped and happy, and like what fulfills this whole process for you. Like, what is the thing that you've put in thousands of hours of work? What's going to make it all feel really worth it to you, and to you, not because of what somebody else thinks. And you could still, and I don't take that to mean like, well, the obvious answer is like, don't care about how you look. Like, maybe it is. Maybe that is what really makes it feel worth it to you, because you care about what you see versus, like, you know, what a bunch of other people might see in you. And or maybe you say, I want to look a particular way because I really want to get the attention that could help grow my business so that I can ultimately be the person to teach people that it doesn't matter what you look like. And I want, you know, like you want to use your platform for that kind of good. And yeah, it's it brings up a lot for me because some of the best, most happiest times of my life in the past 10 years since I turned 30, or actually if I go back into my 20s, the last like 15 years were when I kind of let go of like what, like I had a maybe a 2 to 3 year period in competitive CrossFit where I just did it for me.
Yeah.
It was I look back on it as like this, I call it like the selfish time of my life when I was single. You know, I had a girlfriend, we lived together, my wife now, but like I was a single, self-centered kind of guy who didn't like treat people poorly and wasn't like, I don't care about anybody except for myself. I just did everything because this was my time to be focused on me. And what I learned in that time and how I grew as a person paved the way for who I am now and everything that we do as a company. But I really stopped caring about anything except for I want to be the best that I can be, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I understood that recipe from a coaching perspective, from a physiology perspective. I knew what it took, and I just committed to that process, and that gave me more fulfillment than anything could have possibly given me. And now, you know, I compare that to maybe today, where when life gets more and more complicated, and it will get more and more complicated for this particular person, I don't know when, but it will. You know, when there are more people and more dependents in your life that, you know, you have chosen to like give yourself over to, and you are not the center of your world, you're just a part of this big ecosystem that you create around you, you lose a little bit of that ability to like, I'm just doing this for me. Like, you'll pick your spots and you hope that you can really do it the way you want, but you may not. And I feel that way for myself. It's like, I got my little spots where I really try and make it about me, but like, I always got to compromise for the other people that are around me. And so you're in an awesome place, whoever wrote in. You're in a really, really unique place right now to just do this for you and reap the rewards and the benefits and the fulfillment of getting yourself to this competition and this group of people, and just go and love it for yourself. And because no one else really wants you to succeed as much as you want to succeed for yourself.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
So I got nothing else to say.
Okay. Well, good luck to our listener. We
yeah,
hope you crush
good luck.
it.
Hope you crush something. Do something that you never thought you could possibly do.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
For sure. And that can sometimes be that doesn't mean a first place. That could mean a last place. But you finish the workout after you've wanted to quit, that kind of thing.
Yep.
All right. Enjoy, and keep sending in those topics and questions, and you can send them to me. You can send them to Satya. That one went to Satya. Sometimes they come to me. Either way, slide into the DMs, and we'll see you next time.
We'll see ya.